Schindler's List isn't just a movie. It's something far heavier. A film that didn't just depict history, it reshaped how millions understand it. But what most people never see is the story behind it. A story filled with hesitation, emotional struggle, impossible decisions, and quiet acts of humanity that made the film what it is. And it all starts with hesitation. For years, Steven Spielberg couldn't bring himself to make this film. He had the rights. He had the opportunity. But deep down, he felt he wasn't ready. The responsibility of telling a Holocaust story felt overwhelming. So much so that he even offered the project to other legendary directors like Roman Polanski and Martin Scorsese. But none of it felt right. The project sat untouched for nearly a decade, waiting. What finally changed wasn't inspiration, it was urgency. As Holocaust denial began gaining attention, Spielberg realized something powerful. If this story wasn't told truthfully and carefully, it might be lost or distorted. And that's when he understood, this wasn't just a film. It was a responsibility. And when he finally stepped onto set, everything changed. At the same time he was filming this deeply emotional story in Poland, he was also finishing one of the biggest blockbusters in history, Jurassic Park. Think about that contrast for a second. On one side, dinosaurs, visual effects, global entertainment. On the other, human suffering, real history, emotional devastation. He was living in two completely different worlds at once. During the day, he filmed scenes that reflected one of the darkest chapters in human history. At night, he reviewed footage of dinosaurs through satellite calls. And eventually, the emotional weight became too much. He later admitted that after certain scenes, he couldn't even look at the lighter project anymore. This film changed him, not just as a filmmaker, but as a person. And to make it real, he abandoned everything he knew about filmmaking. No detailed storyboards. No polished cinematic setups. No visual perfection. Instead, he chose chaos, movement, imperfection. Working with cinematographer Janusz Kamiński, the camera became more like a witness than a storyteller. Handheld shots, natural lighting, moments that felt raw and almost uncomfortable to watch. Because this wasn't meant to look like a movie. It was meant to feel like reality. That same commitment to authenticity shaped every decision. Rather than building fake sets, much of the film was shot in real locations across Kraków, a city that still carried the architectural scars of the past. Streets, buildings, and neighborhoods that didn't need to be recreated because they were already there. And when something couldn't be filmed authentically, like concentration camps, the team didn't take shortcuts. They rebuilt entire environments from scratch based on real records and survivor testimonies, down to the smallest detail. Because getting it close enough wasn't acceptable. But even with all this effort, the emotional toll was crushing. Spielberg himself struggled deeply during filming. There were days he broke down before shooting even began. The weight of what he was recreating became almost unbearable. And strangely, the thing that helped him survive it was laughter. Every week, Robin Williams would call him, not to talk about work, not to discuss the film, but just to make him laugh. Completely improvised jokes. Characters. Pure distraction. No credit. No spotlight. Just a friend keeping another afloat. It's a reminder that even in the darkest moments, small human gestures can make all the difference. That same philosophy carried into one of the film's most powerful creative decisions, shooting in black and white. This wasn't about style. It was about truth. Color, Spielberg believed, could make the film feel too cinematic, too watchable. Black and white stripped everything down. It connected the film visually to real historical footage and forced audiences to face the story without distraction. Except for one moment. A single flash of color. A little girl in a red coat. In a sea of grayscale, she stands out. Not just visually, but emotionally. She becomes impossible to ignore. And that's the point. She represents something deeply uncomfortable. The moment we see, but don't act. And that moment stays with you. Because Schindler's List constantly reminds us, awareness alone isn't enough. Behind the scenes, the film also carried something even more powerful than research, real memory. Producer Branko Lustig wasn't just part of the crew, he was a Holocaust survivor. someone who had lived through the horrors being recreated. He didn't just advise. He felt it. And his presence gave the film something no script ever could: accountability. That same respect guided one of the film's most important decisions: not filming inside Auschwitz concentration camp. Even though it could have added realism, Spielberg refused. Some places, he believed, were too sacred, too painful to be used as film sets. So instead, they recreated everything elsewhere, with precision, but also with respect. Because this film had lines it refused to cross. Even casting followed that same philosophy. Instead of choosing a major Hollywood star, Spielberg cast Liam Neeson, someone audiences didn't strongly associate with any particular image. That mattered. Because Schindler himself is a complicated figure. Not a perfect hero. Not a simple character. A man who starts selfish and slowly transforms. And Neeson's performance captured that perfectly, without turning it into something predictable or comfortable. That discomfort is what gives the film its power. And it all leads to one of the most devastating moments in cinema: the realization that even after saving so many lives, it never feels like enough. That quiet breakdown, that regret, is what makes the story human. Because it refuses to offer easy closure. And then, just when you think the film is over, it does something almost unheard of. It brings reality into the frame. Real survivors. Real people. Standing beside the actors who portrayed them. Placing stones on Schindler's grave. In that moment, the film stops being a film. It becomes something else entirely. A bridge between past and present. Between story and truth. And its impact didn't end there. The success of Schindler's List led Spielberg to create the USC Shoah Foundation, an effort to preserve the voices of survivors before they were lost forever. Thousands of testimonies. Dozens of languages. Real people telling their own stories. Because a film can move you for a few hours, but real voices can echo for generations. And maybe that's the most important legacy of all. Not awards. Not box office. Not even recognition. But memory. Because Schindler's List was never just about the past. It was about making sure the world never becomes comfortable enough to forget it.